Hello lifers, PJ here and welcome to the MLM weekly update. This is ridiculous. I can't see. I'll be right back. Okay, that's a bit better. Bit of normality. I have donned my NFL Chicago Bears cap because I'm sick of my hair whipping round and trying to lash me to death. So what was the opening all about? What the opening was all about was that today I've been down to a department store called The Range. And if you live in the UK, I'm sure many of you have got a local branch. And I went down there to look for some printable stickers to help me with the livery for the John Player Special Formula 1 car. But while I was down there, they were selling these masks. Yes, it is a mask. And they were also selling these face guards. Now, I had a look in Toolstation and Screwfix for a face mask. And the reason I wanted one was for using a rotary tool with a grinding wheel on it. Those the wires that come off the wire brush accessory are really sharp, and you can find them ending up in your clothes, your trousers, hitting your face, arms, whatever. So when as I say, when I looked in Toolstation and Screwfix, they wanted in excess of anything from 15 to, I don't know, 50 quid for them. And it just so happened when I was in the Range, I did ask a young lady if they sold face masks, and they said they got some on the counter. So I picked up two of these. £1.20 each. So there you go. If you've got a Range nearby, top tip, spend £1.20. I don't know how long this will last. A couple of months, who knows. And these face masks, they're not. They've got no filtration on. But for a couple of quid, they may just prevent some of the particles from spraying paint. Affecting you? I don't know. It was. They were there, and I'm also going to look really cool going in Sainsbury's and Aldi and Lidl's wearing one of these. If I don't get arrested for trying to rob the place. So there you go. That was that. As I've said in previous videos, I don't get any monetarisation from anything I mention or a product I try out. I went to another store which is B&M. If you live in the UK, you've probably got a B&M local to you. They do stock Plasticoat. What's Plasticoat if you don't know? Plasticoat is a rattle can. I think these were £4.50 each, and I brought 4. So I've got a light blue, I've got a yellow, an orange, and a green. Now I've also mentioned in previous videos that these restorations I do are purely for my own satisfaction. I don't intend to resell them on eBay. Then I'm not trying to be as authentic as possible with the colours. But what I would like to show you, if you're just doing this for your own, as I say, for your own satisfaction, some of the results you can get from some of these cheaper spray cans, rather than buying Tamiya, Revell, all these other kind of paint, little pots of paint. So I've got I might get this wrong, I think it's a number 30 Matchbox crane. I've got 3 of these. So that is the colour green that I picked up from B&M, the Plastico, and that is the crane that goes with it. Now these are going to need another coat, and probably the camera doesn't do this paint justice, but it looks really good for me, in my humble opinion. I'm not saying that you've got to use it, as I will reiterate, this is purely for my own satisfaction. But they will need another coat. There's a few bare spots. What I also did was I used the yellow to do this. If I remember rightly, Marty's got one on his channel, and it's a Coca-Cola wagon. I can't remember the brand, whether it's a Bedford or a Ford or whatever. So I did that in the yellow. That's also going to need a second coat, but I'm loving the colour. So in a previous Ruin to Refresh video, I mentioned that you don't have to spend a fortune looking for paint when these rattle cans come in a bigger size than these little pots of Tamiya paint. Tamiya paint's brilliant, but I'm not prepared to keep spending £5 or £6 per, little pot of paint, including delivery and what have you, when I can spend £4 or £5 or whatever on these big. Let me just have a see what size this is. I think it's also this one is a 400mm. That'll last me for weeks and weeks. I'm just getting, it's almost like the primary colours, and I'm pretty impressed with them. I'm pretty impressed with the level of paint you can get from DIY stores. It's really good. Give it a go, but my advice would be try it on a test piece first. Don't go straight for the model that you're working on. I don't want to come back saying, "Mike, you said do this." No, I've tried these on a test piece first to see what the colour would look like. I don't want to. I'm the last one to want to ruin one of my models, so I try it on a test piece first, see what they come out like. If I'm happy with it, I'll pass it on and say, this is the kind of results I've had, as I've shown you with the crane and the pot wagon. So that's that. I've picked up some printer paper from the range, and this printer paper is label printer paper, and you can get 16 labels, you can get 64 labels, and you can get 4 labels per sheet. And what I'm going to try and do with that is to recreate the livery for the John Player Special, as I've mentioned earlier on. So that'll be coming up. A lot of the models I've got going on in the background I will include in these weekly updates. Not everyone's going to be a from ruined to refreshed. It has to be a major project for it to be ruined to refreshed. I'm currently doing a 3 model restoration, but in the background, as with a lot of other guys who do this hobby, they've got several other projects going on at any one time. So part 1 of this episode of MLM Weekly Update. If I've got anything else to report before this video goes live, I'll see you in the next clip. Cheers. Welcome back from the break, folks. In this part of the weekly update, I thought I'd change tact and look at the other side of model making. There's a reason why I called it midlife models and not something like midlife diecast or diecast midlife restorations. I don't know. My hobby encompasses both diecast and plastic models, so I thought I'd give a bit of a update on some of the models that I've been working on in the past several months, which included plastic models, and these are mainly Revell models, and this is when I was first getting back into the hobby of model making, etc. So I thought I'd show you a few of the models that I've done. Many of these are still incomplete, they're still works in progress, because as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I've been learning as I've been going along, including airbrushing, paints, thinners, all that kind of stuff. So I think the first model that I did was the Land Rover long wheelbase. It just took my fancy when I saw it on a shelf in the local toy shop. Since then, the next one that I did, you may or may not know, I'm a bit of a heavy metal fan. So we did the Iron Maiden Spitfire, and there's Eddie flying the Spitfire, and the majority of this was hand painted, and I'm really pleased how that turned out. You can see some of the decals on there. So there was that one. I then brought a 2-set celebration or commemorative piece package of the RMS Titanic. So we did the small version of the RMS Titanic, and we did the larger version of the RMS Titanic. Now there's still some work to be done on these, as I mentioned before. You know, a lot of people have got ongoing projects. I will finish these at some point, but again, these were mainly hand painted before I learnt about airbrushing. And I think if I'd known about rattle cans, I might have used some rattle cans on some of these. So there was them, those two. I then did a, just grab this. This was a little £10 starter kit model, which is a Red Arrows Nat. Little baby. Like I say, about £10, but it was cheap, quick to do. Again, hand painted. There was that one. And then I brought another celebration package. And a lot of these celebrations you get more than one plastic model in the box. And I went for the USS Enterprise. And this wasn't, I'm not saying it was cheap, but I got it at a discounted rate. And I'm glad I did, because using the little pots of paint that I mentioned previously, it started to cost quite a bit. And there's a big online debate about the right colours to use on the Enterprise. That's the NC 1701. And I think, knowing what I know now, I would have gone with my gut feeling rather than trying to get every shade and colour right. For the smaller pieces, yeah, you can use the Tamiya paints and etc. But a model that size, when you're blending colours, you'll soon get through lots of pots of paint. So I wish to have had that model, knowing what I know now. Is my point, really. Because I would have done it slightly different. I would have primed it all with a rattle can. I would have probably sprayed the majority of it with a rattle can, and then done the accents and small pieces with the Tamiya Revell type paints, you know. So it's not all about diecast models. It's not all about dinky corgi matchbox. I also like to do, as I say, some of these plastic models. There's a lot of satisfaction to be had from doing a plastic model, but even in that, I'm still learning how to do stuff. So there you go. Plastic models. Cheers. Hello lifers, welcome back to part 3 of MLM Weekly Update, and in this section I'd just like to talk about the community for a moment. I have two major hobbies, the first one being refreshing and building models, and the other one being fishing. How are the two linked? The two are linked by the community. I find that in both communities the people are really helpful. And I want to give a shout out to Lee at Diecast Fixer Uppers, who I had a conversation with on Facebook. Really nice guy. And Mr. P, as he likes to be known, at Peregrine Fortescue Smythe. Check out his website. I have changed my trousers, Mr. P. Thanks for the advice. They'll know what I mean. But the point being that there are some really friendly folk out there. You're always going to get trolls. There's people who are just going to click dislike because you've got a video that's just gone live. You're also going to get people who ask you to be their friend because you've got a video that's just gone live. I'm not getting any paid promotion, as I've said before, so I gain nothing by clicking on links or anything like that. So this is just a shout out to say thank you to those that who have left a kind word, a word of advice, and I hope you all stay safe. It is a pretty crap time that we live in. However, if you can take a plus away from it, if you can find a new hobby that you've never tried before, then more power to your elbow, and good luck. And I think that will pretty much tie up this episode of the MLM Weekly Update. So take care and see you soon. Cheers.